Stop. Before we even start this video, I just want to address the main theme of this movie up front and let you guys know this is a movie that deals with bullying, and if you or anyone you know that has ever gone through bullying, I know it sounds really cliche, but if you see something, say something, because it could end up actually saving someone's life and identity as well as their mental health. And as always, our mental health resources are in the descriptions below. All the way from Fantasia Fest, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to our content, we create content like what you're watching right now, simply to educate and engage individuals like yourselves on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. My name's Captain Nostalgia. I am a writer, podcaster, and the director of our film festival titled Horrific Hope, the only film festival that is horror-centric and mental health focused, and we are now accepting submissions into our 2023 season. For more details on that and our screenwriting competition that is running parallel with the film festival itself, click the links in the descriptions below. So in the descriptions below you can find links to our social media, more movie reviews like this, podcast, links to our Patreon and how to support us financially, and of course, as I said in the beginning of this video, our mental health resource library. And we're coming back with another selection from this year's Fantasia Fest. This one is actually a 2022 release instead of a 4K remastering of Mutant Action, like I talked about last week. It comes to us all the way from Australia, and it tells the story of a social media influencer who reconnects with a childhood friend and in turn gets invited to a bachelorette party where she ends up actually having to face a former childhood bully and the mental health repercussions thereof. What I'm going to say about this movie is that it is a slow burn. And directors Hannah Barlow, who also actually stars in the film, and her creative partner Kane Senes create this really slow burn film that really takes its time to unwind. What I really liked about this movie is the fact that typically when you're dealing with movies, especially in the horror genre, that are trying to tackle the subject of bullying, you're always telling the story from the victim's point of view, and this one kind of does a little bit of both. While it definitely spends a lot more time with the victim in this case, you kind of learn as the film goes on. The bully is also a victim as you kind of learn the troubled past of these two characters. What I really liked about this film is that it is layered, and each character has history with one another, and it makes the film feel really refreshing when you're talking about bullying, because it's not just someone saying, oh, this person doesn't like this person, therefore this person is mean to this person. No, there's actually a history here, and you can kind of see how both are, as the poster says it, hashtag triggered by one another's presence. I really liked about how the writers and directors really handled these three characters that have this history. You really feel, and you're really going to get to see the backstory of it kind of pieced together throughout the course of the film. And so you have, this mystery looming throughout the underlining surface of the film until it erupts with bloody glory. Wrong, this movie has a slasher element to it, and much like slashers, with their tropes and all of their predictability, you have to have bodies that exist in the film simply to die, and this movie is no different. I'm saying that's a bad thing, because honestly some of the deaths in this movie are super creative, and I feel like I have a pretty strong stomach when it comes to gags and horror, and this movie definitely challenged it with some of the creative ways that they had their characters die. I say that if you're looking for a bloody good time, you're going to have to wait because of how slow the front half of the movie is, but once it finally unleashes into that first brutal killing, it is a fast-paced movie that doesn't let up, and it is heartbreaking, gripping, riveting, and just all around fantastic. I feel like I wouldn't say that if it wasn't for the performance of Aisha Dee, and she plays our protagonist Cecilia in this, who is a social media influencer who specializes in guru and mental health advocacy, and this channel was built to talk about movies like Sissy. The performance throughout the course of this movie is just wow. I wish I had a better adjective to say than just simply wow, but her performance in this movie is probably one of the best genre performances I've seen this year. Her arc throughout the course of this movie, going from this like really confident socialite and social media influencer to kind of being this like awkwardly timid girl who's kind of forced to face her demons, essentially, to kind of going full haywire and just absolutely like going absolutely like insane. She just encapsulates every one of those emotions with such grace and impact, and just it's powerful just to kind of see her get to start this film and how it ends and just where her character goes throughout the course of this movie. Likewise, on the flip side of that, you also have Hannah Barlow, who, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, she is also one of the writers and directors. She plays the childhood best friend who reconnects with Cecilia in this movie. She also gives a great performance and really shows that she has a talent to be not only a star in the movie and can do it really well, but also is really talented, really skilled, both behind the camera and bringing these characters to life in the form of a script. And the bully, whose real life name is something I'm probably going to butcher, and if you happen to come across this, I'm super sorry, I'm terrible with names. Emily D. Margheriti. Side note, before I talk about her performance, if you Google her, she has a fascinating, like, she is really doing stuff, awesome things out there. So just Google her. Let's talk about the movie. Can't pronounce her last name. I'm just going to refer to her as Emily. She plays the childhood bully named Alex in this movie. And again, there's not a whole lot of development for her character, but because you have this layered history between the characters, she does a really great job at bringing this bully to life and being a very worthy adversary for Dee's protagonist. I will say she doesn't have a ton of screen time, but she is impactful and purposeful with the screen time she is given. Pacing of this movie, I talked about it in the beginning of the movie about if you don't like slow burns, this is not going to be a movie for you. I really loved the slow burn in this because you've got to do character exploration, character development, and also at the same time have a history and a backstory, which I feel like is really rare in horror, and the writers and directors do such a great job at balancing all of that stuff and also delivering a impactful and important social commentary on bullying, and we'll talk about it more in the mental health section of this, but also at the same time also giving us that slasher that so many hardcore horror fans are going to come from. This is a very well balanced movie. Social commentary is really important for this one because for someone that has been a victim of bullying myself, this movie really struck me really profoundly, and it really connected with it emotionally. And I think that Dee's performance and the social commentary of this spark together and create a really beautifully bloody movie as a final result. Let's put this on our Rorschach rating scale from 0 to 5. This one is going to land at a 4 out of 5 for me. I really think the performances in this movie are really solid. It does follow a little bit of that formulaic delivery with the additions of the slasher tropes, but there's a lot here to sink your teeth into. So the pacing is immaculate. The character performance, the character development, the history of these characters, it's all really good. And the social commentary is the cherry on top. It makes this film stand out from a lot of other genre pieces this year. And if you guys are interested in checking this out ahead of its South by Southwest stop this year. On his festival run, it was announced that this movie is coming to Shudder. I don't know when, there's not an exact day just yet, but keep your eyes peeled on both the socials for Sissy the movie, but also our socials, because as soon as we get a date, we will plop something either in here. All of our socials links are in the descriptions below. But yeah, check this one out. And if you guys don't have Shudder, there is a link in the descriptions below where you guys can sign up and get a 7-day free trial. Let's talk about mental health. New to our content, Mental Health Moment is where we take a theme of mental health woven throughout the course of the film, and we talk about it for just a few minutes in hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. Mentioned in the very beginning of this video, this movie deals very heavily with bullying. And one of the things that I think this film does really well is this film tackles the effects mentally, but it also serves as a cautionary tale to what unresolved trauma can do, what social media can do. Like, this film hammers so many nails on the head in terms of social commentary, but the one that I want to address in this section of the video is actually about bullying and identity. Movie, Cecilia is this social media guru. She is an influencer. The film, like I said, explores this very profoundly, very beautifully. And what we ultimately are left with is she sees this childhood bully on social media one night, and then eventually comes face to face with her, and that confidence that she exudes in the film's opening frames completely crumbles as she takes identity now in what this bully is saying about her. And honestly, first off, if you don't ever address trauma has this way of kind of shape-shifting your identity to form the source of that trauma. Or on the flip side, you have it unresolved and it just kind of lingers, and you try really hard to kind of just adjust around normal life while still having this black cloud loom over you, and you're just kind of stuck. On the surface, you look happy, but that's another video for another day. Cecilia in particularly, she takes identity and residence in what this girl says about her. Really, really toxic place to be. Let me just tell you that is a super toxic place to be. And the movie, as it explores, it's also found out that she doesn't not only take residency up in what Alex says about her and her identity there, but also the image that she projects into social media and how people perceive her, all craft around her identity of who she is. Taking identity up in what someone else says about you, let alone a bully, is really harmful to your mental health, because what happens if you can never strive to the perfection that person is saying about you, or on the flip side of that, taking advantage or taking residency up in what a bully says about you, can actually start to demean your view and your own self-worth and self-value, because you're believing every word that they're saying about you being worthless or being less than, and that is 100% not true. And so even coming from a scientific standpoint, again, I read this several years ago, I just Google it. What ends up happening is the more that you are around that negativity, the more that you actually start to believe that negativity. So if someone is saying that you're ugly, or that you're fat, or that you're worthless, you start to take on those identities and start to identify yourself as ugly, fat, worthless, stupid, etc. All of those negative adjectives actually start to become your identity, and you start to really seek after those things and really believe demeaning things about yourself. Just address the elephant in the room. No one is worthless. If you came across this video for however possible. Let me just speak to that. Whatever anyone is saying about you, whether you're ugly or you're fat or that you're stupid or any other negative adjectives that can be placed in fill in the blank here about you, you are not those things. You are so far from those things that it's not even worth comparing or even worth trying to say, making excuses as to why you think you should agree with that. Your mental health isn't worth the opinion of other people. It's not worth the mental health of diving into things like depression, suicidal tendencies, addiction, self-harm, alcoholism, anxiety, etc. Don't sacrifice your mental health for what other people will say about you or even think about you, because in the end, they're just people, and people come and go out of your life, but at the end of the day, you're left with your own mental health, and you're also left with your own identity and how you see yourself. So don't try and change yourself for others, or don't try and take up residency in what others say about you or think about you. Be your own person and take your mental health super serious. That's all I want to say on that. If you or someone you know is watching this right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, depression, or addiction, among other things, click the links in the descriptions below to check out our mental health resource library. As always, make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so when we create new content, you guys are the first to see about it. And thank you guys for watching. We have more Fantasia Fest coverage coming. And as I mentioned in our last Fantasia Fest video, we are going to be doing this not only here on YouTube. Make sure that you guys are following us on all our socials, because we will be doing these via podcasting, movie reviews like this, and written reviews as well. So they will be hitting all three of our major outlets. So until next time, have a good week, guys.